Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Murrieta City Council meeting of June 20th, 2023. City
Shall I
Clerk?
call roll?
City Clerk, would you please call roll call?
Of course. Councilmember,
Bless you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Councilmember Warren,
Here.
Councilmember Lavelle, Councilmember Holliday,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Stone,
Present.
Mayor DeForest.
Here.
Let the record reflect that all members are present with the exception of Councilmember Lavelle.
Thank you so much, Madam City Clerk. Could you please?
Yes.
Thank you.
There are no public comments on closed session items, and the City Council will go into closed session on 3 items. CS1, conference with labor negotiators. The City Council will conduct a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6 with the City Manager, City Attorney, and City negotiators regarding labor negotiations with MPOA, MPMA, MFA, and MFMA, representing the city's fire battalion chiefs. CS2, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. The City Council will conduct a closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D2 and D3 because there is a significant exposure to litigation in 2 cases. And lastly, the City Council will meet in closed session CS3, public employee performance evaluation and compensation. The City Council will hold a closed session with the city's personnel officer, the city manager, pursuant to Government Code Sections 54957, 54957.6a, to conduct an employee performance evaluation of the city manager and to discuss the salary, compensation, and fringe benefits provided to the city manager. That concludes closed session.
Thank you so much, Madam City Clerk. You said it better than I could.
Very good.
I would like to say we'll be reconvening at 6 p.m. for our regular meeting, and now we're going to go into closed session.
Thank you.
Good evening. We are now reconvening from June 20, 2023 meeting of the Murrieta City Council from our closed session. Announcement of closed session action. Madam City Attorney, could you please provide a report from our closed session?
Yes, Madam Mayor. First of all, I'd like to announce that Councilmember Lavelle was absent from all of the closed sessions. The first item was CS1, a conference with labor negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6 to meet and confer regarding negotiations with 4 units. In that item, the council was updated. There was no reportable action. The second and third items were CS2 to confer with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation where there's significant exposure to litigation in 2 cases pursuant to Government Code Sections 54956.9 D2 and D3. Again, the council was updated and there's no reportable action. The last item was a public employee performance evaluation and compensation discussion pursuant to Government Code Section 54957 and 54957.6a. On this item, the council was updated, no reportable action. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam City Attorney. Madam City Clerk, could we please have roll call?
Councilmember Warren.
Present.
Councilmember Lavelle. Councilmember Holliday.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Stone.
Here.
Mayor DeForest.
Here.
Let the record reflect that all members are present with the exception of Councilmember Lavelle.
Thank you so much. We're going to move on to the Pledge of Allegiance and our invocation. And at this time, I'd like to invite Pastor John Hanson from Centerpoint Church to the podium. And if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance as well as invocation this evening. Would you all stand?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you pray with me? Heavenly Father, thank you that we're living in a city where the words "in God we trust" are on the wall before us. And God, we don't take for granted the relative peace and prosperity of the city. It comes because of your blessing and because of the good service of so many people in our city. And God, I thank you for our city council members wading through all the issues of zoning changes and compensation issues and giving them wisdom for how to proceed to protect the city against risk. And God, we pray you'd bless their work and their effort and their decision making. Give them wisdom. God, we pray your blessing over our first responders, our firemen, our policemen. God, that when they show up, that they would have such precision in how to respond to what is going on before them, and that you'd protect them, mind, body, soul, and spirit. And God, we pray for your blessing over our valley and in Murrieta in particular, that people would prosper and thrive in our valley. And we pray your protection over every single citizen and over the work that happens through this city council. God, we're grateful for our city, and we give you thanks. In Christ's name I pray, amen.
Thank you so much, Pastor Hansen, for those amazing words this evening. Moving on to our approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Seeing none.
Can I call for an motion and a second to approve the agenda this evening?
Motion carries unanimously, 4-0.
Thank you so much. Department Commission announcements. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I actually have a number of announcements this evening. The first will be our Finance Department has launched a brand-new brochure, Budget in Brief. We have them in hard copies, but we also have them available on the city website. And basically, they summarize the budget that the City Council approved at our last City Council meeting. So that's some good information there. We're also sending out in all of the residents' mailboxes, they'll be getting the new Murrieta magazine, which also includes our recreation guide. So look for that. In July, the City Council will go dark for summer recess, in part to allow our City Clerk's office to launch some new agenda management software. So if you, after August 1st or for the August 1st meeting, if you visit the city's website, it will be much easier to navigate and I think much improved. So people will be quite happy with that. This summer, we have a series of events that include movies in the park and concerts in the park. So we encourage everyone to check the city website for that. And last but not least, this Saturday is the city's birthday bash. And we hope everyone will turn out. And more information is available on the city website related to that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam City Manager. Moving on to Governing Board, Commission, and Committee reports. Madam City Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the opportunity for the City Council members to provide a brief report on conferences, seminars, and commission committees or board meeting attendance. Report shall not exceed 3 minutes. Councilmember Warren.
Thank you, Mayor. On the 14th of June, pardon me, I attended the Riverside County Transportation Commission meeting. Several months ago, it was brought to my attention that there was some available Measure A money for regional arterial funding that cities could apply for. I brought it to the attention of our city manager, who brought it to the attention of Bob Mailing, our Murrieta Public Works Director and city engineer. Because of his great writing abilities and letting them know that we were in need of money, I want to congratulate Bob in his due diligence. And he applied for, and we were approved for an RCTC commission to receive a Measure A regional arterial funding of $3 million for the Murrieta Hot Springs Widening Project. Congratulations. That concludes my report.
That was a fabulous report. Councilmember Holliday.
I had no commission meetings between the last council meeting and now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Pro Tem Stone.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did not attend any commission meetings since our last meeting. Thank you.
And I will concur with the other two. Thank you for bringing us positive news, Councilmember Warren. Moving on to public comments of a non-agendized items. Madam City Clerk.
Any person may address the governing bodies on any subject pertaining to city business. Normally, no action may be considered or taken by the governing body on any matter not listed on the agenda. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Howard Amdahl.
I was hoping this would have been an agenda item. I had a parcel map that we were running through the process, and some delays occurred, and I thought we were on the agenda for tonight, and it missed the deadlines. I was hoping I could have you assign it to the closed session of next week, and then there would be an open session where you could approve it then. It's a consent calendar item. It's a parcel map, taking it into two pieces. I've been working at it for years, and it's a lot of financing that it's going to be happening concurrent with the map. It was all set up that way. It was actually the outside plan checker that went on vacation for 2 weeks and put us in this situation. So I'm requesting that this happen. I'm not sure if Ivan and the city clerk have advised you on what this plan was, but it's something that they said that it's something you could do. So I hope you consider that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll push that to staff. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes public comments on agenda.
Thank you so much. Moving on to the consent calendar, approval of items 1 through 21. Items on the consent calendar are considered routine and may be enacted by one motion and vote. There will be no discussion of these items unless specific items are removed from the consent calendar for separate motions. Are there any requests from council to pull any consent calendar items for discussion or abstaining from a vote? Madam City Clerk, are there consent calendar? So shall we start with Councilwoman Stone?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to pull item number 11. In addition, I'd like to recuse myself from item 16 and item 25, and myself for Zone A because I own property within the zone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Councilmember Holliday.
Yes, I would like to recuse myself from item number 11, CFD 2003-4, as I own property within the zone.
All right, thank you so much, Councilmember Holliday. And I will be recusing myself from item number 11 on the CFD 2004-3, as I own property within the zone. Are we?
Nope.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So just so we're clear, Council Mayor Pro Tem Stone is pulling item 11, and with that, it will be pulled for discussion. So
Okay.
at that point, you can recuse yourself from that item.
Okay, cool.
And Mayor Pro Tem Stone, you will need to abstain for item 25 when that item comes up, okay?
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Are we? All right,
So if we can call for a motion
so we'll call
to
for,
adopt the consent calendar with the exception of item 11.
yes. Madam City Clerk, are there any members of the public requesting to speak?
Seeing none.
Okay. So now we'll call for the motion and the second to approve the consent calendar with exception of item 11, with our abstentions noted.
Motion carries unanimously, 4-0.
Thank you so much. Item number 11 has been pulled. Madam City Clerk, will you read item number 11 for me? It's the fiscal year 2023-2024 tax rate and community facilities districts. Madam Mayor Pro Tem Stone, you pulled the item?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, team. Can you explain a little bit about the difference in, hold on one second, let me grab all my notes here. Single homes versus land versus the different zones and how you've calculated for the lighting district fees, please?
So, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Stone. So this item in front of you tonight is to approve the tax rate for the various community facility districts that we have within our community. I would like to ask our consultant if she can come really quick, who helped us with this report and the calculation specifically for each of those districts. The assessment associated with these districts is related to the debt associated with infrastructures that were built within those districts. So this It's not necessarily a obligation the city has, but an obligation of the districts. For the most part, the rate is associated with the debt service associated with the bonds for those districts that based on the bonds, they usually last between 20 and 30 years.
So staff, could you give us a staff report on this? That would be, do you have anything else that you'd like?
Yeah, I have
Okay.
quite a few questions.
Okay, thank you.
So,
There you go.
so with regards to how you calculate this, with regards to single-family homes, rural areas, how do you determine the fees? How's that determined?
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. For these districts, when they're formed to finance infrastructure within a development. So there are no undeveloped parcels being charged for these districts. They're all built-out districts, and the special tax levy is going to pay for the bonds that were issued in order to build that infrastructure. Typically, the way that the different types of properties are levied were already determined when the district was formed. And for the most part, it's based on the square footage of the home. So square footage being larger, they typically are charged a higher amount than smaller homes.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And it's been brought to my attention that while we have escalators put in place, it's not necessarily an escalator is used because there is enough money within the program. Is that correct? So every year you decide, that there's enough funding going towards that lighting district, and so therefore there will not be an escalator or an increase on those units.
For these CFDs, there is a built-in escalator to the rates that were established when the district was formed, but none of them are being charged at the max rate. The city does have sufficient funds to cover the debt service without going up to the max rate. So yes, we do increase what is the max possible rate to be levied each year, but it doesn't mean that we're charging that amount.
Correct. So you could go many years without an escalator or an increase. Correct.
Yes.
And then with regards to the properties that we inherited from the county, my understanding is that there is a escalator of 0 to 2%.
I believe that's in the community services district, and all of these districts that are community facilities districts, none of those properties were inherited from the county. These are all established once the city was in control of the districts.
Okay, great. Okay. Okay, thank you for asking those few questions. I appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Stone. Any other council member questions? So just because Councilmember Stone asked those questions, I just want to clarify. These are fees for service. Is that correct?
No, this particular item is for the community facilities district, which is paying towards debt service for bonds that were issued on behalf of the district.
Okay. And
Mayor, if I could elaborate on that.
yes.
The bonds were sold to acquire certain facilities that were built for that development. Things like streets, curb and gutter, sidewalks that were necessary for that development.
Okay.
The developer chose to finance those over time, and the property owners pay that bond back.
Okay. Thank you so much for clarifying. Councilmember Warren?
I just want to ask one more question. These bonds are usually 20 to 30 years, correct? Once that bond is paid off, that goes away to the homeowners in that development. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, staff, for clarifying that. And moving forward, do we have a motion and a second? And we have a motion and a second for that to move forward.
Madam Mayor, can we have a discussion on this, being that they've answered some questions, comments? Yes.
You, you could
Have
continue.
discussion with the motion and the second pending.
Okay.
So go
Right.
ahead.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
the floor is yours, Mayor Pro Tem.
I want to thank you very much for answering the few questions that I have. With regards to an increase in these districts, you talked about paying off the debt service. I'm going to let you know that I'm having a difficult time in agreeing to increase these fees on our residents. A few meetings ago, we had Waste Management that came before us who wanted to raise our trash fees. I think it was $2.79. And I voted no on that. And the reason why I voted no is because it's this particular agency that's charging us $2.79. And with the cost of everything that's going on, and then my fellow colleagues a few meetings ago voted to raise hundreds of fees at the city. These $2.79, they tend to add up over time. And this is a direct impact on your pocketbooks. I have a hard time in voting on something that's going to financially impact the pocketbooks of the residents of Murrieta. If there are increases, I believe that the residents have a right to vote whether they want to have these increases imposed on them. And so I just wanted to state where I'm coming from, and we have such a tough time right now with inflation, SoCal Gas, our electricity, our gas, even the cost of eggs, as you know, and this all adds up. And it's the middle class that is really struggling on inflation and the cost of living. And somebody's got to stand up. And tonight I'm standing up. I'm going to vote no.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem.
Madam Mayor,
Councilmember Holliday.
point of clarification, didn't the amount of these assessments go down when we refinanced those bonds last year?
Yes, good evening, Councilmember Holiday. So that is correct. So the city has gone through since 2012, based on the at the interest rate that we took advantage of to refund refund the bonds of that were outstanding to a lower interest rate, which ended up leading to a lower annual payments on the debt service. So most of this, if not, I believe all of them have been refinanced to a lower interest rate.
So the rates they're currently paying is less than what they were.
That is correct.
And as I read in the staff report, there was also one that was increasing annually that now is level fixed pay.
That is correct, and that is the 2005 dash, I'm sorry, no, that was the, yeah, the
all
Greer
these right
Ranch,
here,
I believe.
All these, right here.
So yeah, that is correct. So that one specifically had an annual debt service increase primarily on the principal side. And through the last refinancing transaction, we leveled that principal payment out for the remaining of the terms.
Are any of these others have an increasing payment?
No. I believe that was the only one district that had a increase on the principal amount.
Increase, so all the rest of the principals stay the same, the interest rate staying the same, or they're variable?
The interest rates on all these bonds are fixed.
Are fixed. So what causes the increase from year to year?
So the primarily, I believe, is on the interest on the debt service. So while the principal decreases, I believe the interest might increase. Do you know?
I thought you just said the interest rate was fixed.
No, it is, I apologize, decreases. So I believe it's based on what's remaining on the cash at the end of the year.
I would like to clarify, if it's all right, just that when the bonds were issued, which for these was anywhere from 2016 to 2022, there's a debt service that is established at that time, principal and interest payments that are due, and those do fluctuate slightly year to year. They're not absolutely the same every year. It is the city's attempt always to have it as level as possible, and I believe that is what the finance director was referencing when he said for 2000-1, we kept it from increasing. We weren't talking about a little increase each year. It was substantially increasing each year prior to the refunding, because that's how the bonds were structured when they were originally sold in 2012. So there is fluctuation year to year in the debt service that's due from these districts, and the levy goes directly to pay for that debt service that's due.
I understand that 100%. I understand it's not a city obligation, it's a district obligation. I understand that these were refinanced, which saved those property owners, homeowners a lot of money. I understand that you also benefited them by getting that principal from increasing every year. I'm just still not clear on why. I mean, I'm thinking of a normal bond. Bond pays interest on a fixed principal at a fixed interest rate. It doesn't change. What causes the fluctuation?
Oh, so there's multiple bonds issued. When we say bonds, there's term bonds and I'm blanking, but there's multiple bonds issued, and each one has different interest rates. So as they mature, we're paying down one and then we're paying off the next. And so there are different interest rates. They are fixed at the time that the bonds are issued, but there are different ones for each debt service year based on which bond we're paying off.
And so the increase is based upon which ones were paid off and what you need to pay off the balance of them at the maturity date.
It's, yes.
The short answer is yes.
The payments, the annual payment stays the same. The interest portion goes down as we pay the principal.
Right.
So we pay more in principal, but we pay less in interest each year, but it's the same amount. The varying cost could also depend on the admin fees and the delinquencies that we had in that district.
There it is. There's the answer I'm looking for, because the rest of it, I'm like, no, that should all still be the same.
Yes.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And if I could also clarify one other thing, this action tonight is to approve the levy to go on the tax bill. We are not asking to increase the rates. The rates, if the rates were to be increased, they would have to go out to the property owners that live within that district.
That's that little postcard that goes out every year that says
if
there's no changes in this district.
This district doesn't, or these districts do not
Okay.
require a mailed notification. Different districts require different things. But this district only requires a consent item from council to authorize the levy to go back on the tax bill.
Unless there's an increase.
Unless there's an increase, yes.
Perfect.
And the chart in the agenda report does have some minor fluctuations based on the admin costs and the delinquencies that we have to cover as part of the levy.
Understood. Thank you very much. I'm perfectly clear now.
Madam Pro Tem.
I'm sorry, I want to back up. I have a sheet here that's confusing me by what you just said. So we are approving to put this levy on the tax bill, but you're saying that there is absolutely no increase whatsoever on what we're approving. And if there was a tax increase, it would have to go out to the residents and notify them.
Yes, that's correct. We're
So-
not changing the rate and method of apportionment, the actual amount we can charge per parcel. We're only, the rate that's showing that's increasing is over last year. So there could be variations between the districts. Some are higher and some are lower, but we're not increasing that maximum rate.
Repeat that one more time, what you just said.
The chart in the agenda report shows the change over last year. It's not changing, we're not changing the amount that we can charge per person or per property owner.
So that's staying the same?
That stays the same.
That's staying the same?
Yes.
So I'm a little confused by the document that I have here. And when I mentioned a number, I think this is where I'm confused. So for example, I have item number 18, and it shows that it's going up $143.66. Am I off base here? Am I not understanding this correctly?
Mayor Pro Tem, you're looking at landscape lighting districts, not community facilities districts.
Okay, thank you. I'm very confused. I just got clarity. I want to remove my vote.
All right, well, that was a good discussion. Thank you, staff. I just want
No
to say.
wonder we're all confused.
I
Yeah.
just think that, thank you. I know we went back and we took advantage of historic low rates to save everyone as much money as possible. And I know we refunded a lot back as well. And so thank you for doing our due diligence and taking advantage of historic low interest rates as not to raise these levies. So let's move that forward with Mayor Pro Tem getting back in her seat. And we'll go forward. Thank you so much, staff.
Ready to go away? Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I need everyone to make a vote. Thank you. That's all right?
Motion carries unanimously, 4-0, with Mayor DeForest recusing herself from CFD 2004-3, and Councilmember Holliday recusing himself from CFD 2003-4, as they both own properties within those specific zones.
Thank you so much, Madam City Clerk, for keeping us straight. All right. Moving on to public hearings. We have an appeal of the Planning Commission's decision to approve the revised project's site plan and reject requested hours of operation. A substantial conformance, 2022-0002. Staff, may we have a staff report?
Absolutely. Good evening, Mayor DeForest, Mayor Pro Tem Stone, and distinguished members of the City Council. Forgive me. So this evening, we will discuss and approve substantial conformance at the site location shown on the map, and an appeal of that approval by the project applicant to request unrestricted hours of operation. Before discussing the applicant's appeal letter, let's review the project background and Planning Commission approval. The application for a substantial conformance was a request to make a minor modification to the approved site plan by relocating the fuel station further away from the homes, relocating the convenience store to serve as a buffer, adding electric vehicle charging stations, and operating the business without restrictions on hours. The car wash and propane station were eliminated from the substantial conformance proposal. Staff reviewed the revised design and request on hours and agreed it was an improved proposal. On March 22nd of this year, the Planning Commission approved this substantial conformance with conditions of approval to limit the hours of operation. Following the Planning Commission approval, the project applicant filed an appeal of that decision and is requesting to remove the conditions of approval that restrict operating hours. The project applicant provided a letter presenting the reasons for their appeal to request unrestricted hours. The staff report explains this in further detail. I've summarized their reasons on this slide and will walk us through them with a response to each point. So the first one is expanded hours were denied, notwithstanding the changes proposed with the substantial conformance and history of the zoning on this property. In response, the code states that development plan permit applications are intended to protect the integrity and character of the residential areas of the city through an application review. During multiple hearings on this project, public testimony was provided to the Planning Commission that raised concerns about noise, nuisance, crime, and lighting impacting the adjacent residential uses. Staff has explained that this site's general plan and zoning designation have been commercial since before the homes were built. At the March hearing, the Planning Commission found that the request to have unrestricted hours could not be supported. Staff recommends that the City Council overturn the Planning Commission's restriction on operating hours by finding that the public need for and the benefits to be derived from the use as redesigned outweighs the impacts the use may cause to adjacent property owners whose homes are next to the property zone community commercial, which allows the proposed use with unrestricted hours of operation. The next point raised by the applicant was that the city hearing bodies have not previously conditioned hours of operation. In response, the Planning Commission routinely approves projects with conditions of approval that set hours of operation for a proposed use via a conditional use permit. Staff recommends that the City Council overturn the Planning Commission's restriction on operating hours because the redesign project created larger buffers to the adjacent residences by relocating the fuel pumps and eliminating the car wash and propane station. These changes mitigate the impacts of the proposed use even with the unrestricted hours of operation. The next point was other convenience stores and gas stations are free to operate with unrestricted hours. In response, the purpose of the community commercial zone is to provide appropriate buffering between adjacent residential designations to lessen or moderate the impact of something. The redesign of the site resulted in the maximum amount of distance between the residences and the gas station convenience store use. The convenience store building itself, as well as the site improvements such as walls and landscaping, serve as a buffer between the use and the residences. So although the Planning Commission decided to deny the expanded hours based on their findings that the buffer between the adjacent residential homes was inadequate, staff recommends that the City Council find that the redesign project creates a sufficient buffer as contemplated by the zone. The next point raised by the applicant is that the Planning Commission has recently approved a similar use with similar site circumstances. And in response to the example, the example reference was similar in use only. The reference project is on a much larger site with ample room to place the fuel canopy more than 160 feet from the nearest home, compared to the subject property that redesigned its site to push the fuel canopy the farthest away possible from the homes at 84 feet. Staff recommends that the City Council find the applicant's reference to another project be determined to be irrelevant to the appeal before the City Council this evening. The applicant's final point is that findings were not made to support the decision to deny hours. In response, I'd like to point out that the Development Code does not require findings to deny or approve a substantial conformance application. So with that said, it is staff's recommendation to open the public hearing and receive testimony and either adopt a resolution entitled A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Murrieta denying the appeal and upholding substantial conformance relating to the proposal to construct and operate a 5,800 square foot convenience store and fuel station subject to the conditions of approval in Exhibit B. As an alternate, staff has provided an alternative recommendation, and that would be to adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Murrieta approving the appeal and granting substantial conformance relating to the proposal to construct and operate a 5,804 square foot convenience store and fuel station subject to the conditions of approval in Exhibit A. That concludes our presentation, and we're available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, staff. I will take my council members' questions at this time. I can start with some questions to kick us off. So Am I clear in my review that the propane and the car wash were removed from this project?
That is correct.
Thank you. And do we have any other similar properties with conditions of operations for hours?
In comparison to the uniqueness of this site, no, we do not.
Okay. And all of our other projects that we have, are they open, unlimited, 24 hours projects?
So we have a variety of gas stations in the city,
Right.
and I can't say that all of them operate at 24 hours, but the majority do. And furthermore, the ones that we have approved throughout time in the city, we did not apply conditions of approval that restricted the hours.
So no conditions of approval in previous applicants?
Right, unless it was for a conditional use permit,
Okay.
which in a individual circumstance, there might have been hours applied to that specific area.
Thank you so much. All right, I'll move to my Councilmember Holliday.
Is this project approved for alcohol sales?
There is no alcohol sales request at this time, but if the project were to be built at a later date, the applicant could come in at a later time and request alcohol sales. We have a separate process for that that would involve public noticing before a decision would be made on that matter.
And would that come before Planning Commission or Council?
The alcohol request would be processed administratively by the staff.
By the staff.
Unless it was asked to be moved to the Planning Commission.
And it could be appealed to the Planning Commission
Absolutely.
and then up to the council.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we will move on to and open the public hearing. I understand that the applicant has requested approximately 10 minutes for their testimony and rebuttal time. City Clerk, is there any public testimony starting with the applicant, proponents, followed by opponents, closing with neutral comments?
Madam Mayor, if I could, with your permission, ask that anyone in opposition to this appeal, expanding the hours, if they could suggest what the alternative would be, what additional use or what additional that the applicant could do that would appease them?
They can certainly do that if they so choose. Thank you, council member. All right, so moving on to,
The applicant?
yes,
Yes.
I know you were standing at one time. Welcome.
In deference, I sat back down just in case there needed to be more discussion. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the City Council. My name is Kelly Black, and I am here tonight on behalf of the applicant. I promise not to take my 10 minutes. I really don't think you want to be bored by me. I will simply say that I really appreciate all of the efforts that staff have put into this project. It has been a long process. It has been an iterative process, and what is before you tonight we think is the best site plan, taking into account all of the issues that have been raised. Specifically tonight, we are here simply to ask you to treat us the same way every other gas station and convenience store, at least in my research that I have found in the city of Murrieta, is treated, and that we be allowed to operate on a 24-hour basis. To that end, one of the things that I know had come up in prior discussions were security concerns. We have with us tonight Chief David Bejarano, who is a retired police chief from San Diego, and who will be speaking on the security measures that we will be taking going forward. Chief.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members, honorable council members, and Mayor. Once again, my name is David Bejarano. Approximately 35 years of law enforcement experience, serving as a police chief for the city of San Diego, the Chula Vista Police Department, and also the U.S. Marshal. Besides the hundreds of hours of training and experience over 35 years, I have additional training through the U.S. Secret Service on physical site security, asset protection, the FBI Academy, maintain current memberships with the California Chiefs Association, FBI, et cetera, and been involved in private security consulting for about 9 years. I wanted to address any concerns regarding potential crime. Obviously, I think a lot of times the committee, even law enforcement, will take a look at businesses operating overnight. Is that going to create a substantial increase in calls for service or crime? I conducted some research here in the city of Murrieta. I looked at crime statistics between November 1st of 2022 through March 31st of 23. And I used the same software mapping tool used by the Murrieta Police Department, crimemapping.com. And I looked at the approximately 8 convenience store gas stations in close proximity to Interstate 15 and 215. And keep in mind, when you do the drawing of the crime statistics, it's specific to a 100 block, not a specific address. I looked within a half-mile radius of the block. And in reviewing that, and again, I looked specifically also, the concern being here, will there be an increase when the business is open, if it's open overnight? So I look at crime occurring within those 8 convenience stores within that half-mile radius, crime that was occurring or reported between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. in the morning. In reviewing all of that data, approximately 85% of crime reported, again, during that time period and during those hours, actually occurred during the daytime between 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. at night. Very few crimes were reported during the evening hours of 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. The crimes that were reported were driving under the influence arrests, vandalism, and burglaries, and a few narcotics violations. I also looked at it's a very comprehensive report prepared by the Murrieta Police Department on a monthly basis, looked at January and February, where they identified crime trends that I assume they're focusing on, paying closer attention to. And I believe it involved taking a look at converter thefts from cars, from vehicles, burglaries, and auto thefts, so not necessarily robberies or burglaries occurring at convenience stores. I also prepared a comprehensive security plan for the site. And this is specific, custom-made for that site. As their public safety consultant, took a look at the current training, safety procedures, policy, et cetera, and prepared a security plan for that site. The number one priority is the safety and security of all customers, employees, et cetera. And the security plan documents safety procedures, how to prevent crime, how to prevent shoplifting, how to prevent robberies. What do you do if, in fact, you have a robbery? How do you prevent burglaries? Obviously, if it's open 24 hours a day, that will not be an issue. And also very specific policies to prevent diversion of products from employees, making sure there's no loitering, cleaning up graffiti, vandalism, locking the back of the business so there's no illegal activity that could occur during the daytime, evening hours, et cetera. A state-of-the-art surveillance system that will provide law enforcement, even during low light conditions or hours of darkness, facial identification of any suspected activity that might be occurring within 20 feet. Again, state-of-the-art security system. Also, how to handle conflict involving customers or guests at the convenience store. Guidelines on how, when, and how to report crime. And the entire security plan, the focus again is to ensure that there's not an increase in police calls for service. We know that there's a limitation as far as how many officers, and no community wants to take away officers from responding to high priority crimes and responding to low level calls for service. So all that is addressed in the security plan, including security exclusion policy. I will be involved in implementing that security plan, involved in training to ensure that there's not an increase in calls for service, and they are taking every possible security safety measure to prevent crimes and calls for service. It's also important to note that I also do an extensive background with the applicants I choose to represent as far as security consulting. And the applicants have approximately 7 other licenses operating businesses primarily in the county. And in taking a look at a 20-year history, there's probably one or a couple of very minor violations over 20 years. So you have a demonstrated history of operating a business that is in full compliance with all laws and regulations. The question was asked regarding an ABC license. I assume at some point they will probably apply for an ABC license. And there's also a lot of security measures in that security plan if in fact alcohol sales are permitted at some point, including during the hours that alcohol is not allowed to be sold from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. They'll have coolers that self-lock to prevent any theft and et cetera. So once again, I'll be happy to answer any questions, but not only, again, the implementation of the security plan, but I'll be involved for the long term as a consultant to make sure that security plan is followed and quickly address any crime-related issues, calls for service involving your police department. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Madam City Clerk? I know you're working over there. I can see it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we are going to, I would like to note for the record that I do not have any public testimony for proponents. And so now we're moving on to public testimony by opponents. Sky DeBrouwer.
Good evening. Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council members, and staff. My name is Sky DeBrouwer, and I live on Hackberry Street. I will actually be 4 houses from the corner of that property, directly behind the convenience store. I'm a business owner, and my husband is a firefighter, paramedic, and an Iraq war veteran. We have 5 beautiful children, and we chose the town of Murrieta to raise our family because of the wonderful schools and low crime rate. I looked at each of your biographies on the city website. Each of you have a list of priorities that you deem important in your roles as council members, and we as a community want to see you uphold them as elected officials. Madam Mayor, one of your top priorities is ensuring a safe community. Madam Mayor Pro Tem, you state you want to continue to support our public safety to ensure we remain the top 5 safest cities in the nation. Councilmember Level stated his first priority is to have supporting all public safety initiatives. Councilmember Holliday, one of your priorities is support our police and fire departments to maintain our safest city rating. And finally, Councilmember Warren, the first priority you list is public safety. I'm so grateful that safety is a priority for all of you. According to the FBI's annual report on national crime statistics, convenience store robberies account for close to 7% of violent crime known to police in 2017 and rose to 10% in 2020. Though experts have a range of explanations as to why this is happening, they can all agree on certain truths, and one of those truths is the operating hours. A convenience store's hours of operation are by far the most significant reason it is such an easy target for robberies. Most of these stores are open late into the night or 24 hours a day. The late evening and early morning hours offer more opportunities when fewer customers and witnesses are present to see the crimes take place. It is easier to get away with a robbery at night than it is in broad daylight. Also, convenience store employees suffer from high rates of workplace homicide, second only to taxi cab drivers. Our master bedroom, I'm almost out of time here, is directly behind that wall. We're also concerned about the noise. Just because our master bedroom is right there, we look directly over into that store. We are proposing that the hours be limited to 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. I don't even like a 5 a.m. opening time, but I understand if that's necessary. But 5 a.m. is when noise would happen as well and waking us up. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments.
Robert Blackman.
Good evening. I also live on Hackberry, 27622 Hackberry, right across from where the gas station is proposed. I guess is going to be built at this point. Our neighborhood has voiced strong opposition to this project since the very first meeting years ago at the Antelope Hills Elementary Library. Some of our concerns have been addressed. Car wash was removed, propane tank, alcohol sales have not been approved, though obviously still pending. And the operating hours were limited as a concession to the fact that this is a unique project. There's no other example that you're going to find with the gas pumps, the building, the entire project that close to our homes. The example that was brought up, the examples that are in Temecula, there's a significant gap between the retail and the gas pumps and the homes. This is ridiculous, this lot, but again, that's been decided. Ultimately, though, as it has been mentioned, convenience stores are a target for violent crime. In fact, they are the 4th most common site for violent crime in this country. 7th most is gas stations. I looked at the police reports for the gas station, for the AM/PM across the street, as my litmus test to what I can expect to happen. I didn't break it down by hour, but the AM/PM across the street from our house since January has had 2 armed robberies, a burglary, 23 shoplifting events, multiple drug and alcohol arrests, 37 total incidents since January that this one location's had. And we're talking about having a 24-hour operation right behind our homes, immediately behind our homes. I mean, I don't know that the pictures do it justice. We're talking about no buffer. So to answer your question, what I would ask for, if the hours are extended to 24 hours, I want to make sure that there is a wall that is not climbable, because if there is any sort of confrontation and there is somebody who's running from the police, the first place they're going to go is over that wall and into our properties. No brainer. I've seen enough police chases to know that that's what's going to happen. They're not going to run out to the street. They're going to run into our backyards. So if we're going to go 24 hours, that wall needs to be unscalable. I'm talking American Ninja unscalable. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Sarah Shepherd.
Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. Sorry, I strongly oppose this appeal that they're suggesting. We ask that you uphold the decision our Planning Commission originally made to limit the operating hours. This is a very major consideration and change that would highly affect the adjacent homes and residents in their livelihood. Please consider that this is a very different situation than any other establishment that they're talking about. It's mere feet from our backyards. Sorry. We have so many concerns regarding the health and safety issues that our families and neighbors are going to be faced with going forward. We have tried our best to stop this project for the past 5 years or so, and to help our city not set a precedent that this is acceptable so close to residences. We have also opposed this project from the beginning and have tried our best to minimize the damages and danger we will face as well. We all know traffic, noise, and light are also going to affect us negatively as well, and we don't feel that the reports and studies were done accurately and don't illustrate the impact that it's going to have on our properties, and don't feel the extended hours were considered when these items were approved. We are pleading with you that you please help us to mitigate the risk that we will undoubtedly face if these extended hours aren't rejected. At the last Planning Commission meeting we all attended, a sergeant that represented Murrieta PD, which I definitely think should overrule the San Diego officer, his
thoughts and opinions, answered questions about safety at these types of establishments. It was very clear that crime is much more present at these types of establishments in general, but that most violent crimes happen and that we all have the highest risk between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. There's so many negative statistics linked to this type of establishment in general, and are even worse for gas stations and convenience stores that have extended operating hours. Please do not allow them to put profit over our family's safety. We have done so much research regarding the health aspect of living next to a gas station and the increased cancer risk and air quality issues that are present from the benzene and vapors that are expelled at gas pumping facilities consistently throughout operating hours. We are sensitive receptors and ask that you also consider our health in this matter as well. We will be less than half the distance from the pumps and the harms that come from the cancer risks associated as any other residents in our city. And that's the number that they were referencing the 160 feet versus 84 feet that will be subjected to. Having limited operating hours would allow for air quality conditions and risks to our health to be minimized. In conclusion, there's no need for this. I think it creates extra health, safety, and quality of life issues for our families who are at a very unsafe distance from this facility. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sarah.
Fitsana Daniels.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I live on Hackberry, right where the gas station would be proposed. Well, I think we've come to the realization that it's going to be built, and we've accepted that. But now we're here again to oppose the hours of operation. And I'm going to say, a lot of my opposition is for selfish reasons too. I work from home. So I've been up since 4:30 this morning. So obviously the sleep and the noise is really my first concern. I think with Del Taco across the street and Jack in the Box, I can hear them. People ordering food at night can hear, so I can imagine what the gas station, the noise that it's gonna bring right on the other side of my retaining wall. And we don't have teenagers anymore in the house, but when Del Taco was open, I remember my teenager son would jump over the fence to go over to Del Taco. So it's not that difficult to cross that wall. So, and then obviously I know my neighbors talked about, safety reasons. We're concerned about that, but we've come to the realization that it's gonna happen, and that's fine. I understand, I appreciate a lot of the efforts, a lot of the stuff they put in, but my recommendation would be, limit the hours, maybe 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. closing, so I can at least get some sleep. And also, maybe possibly, I know there's some trees, but I don't know how much that would deter the noise or people from jumping over to our property. So maybe my neighbor proposed a higher retaining wall, at least for our area. So again, thank you for your time. And obviously, I propose the 24-hour operation. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Daniels.
Lourdes Blackman.
Good evening, council members and beautiful people behind me. My name is Lourdes Blackman. I live at 27622 Hackberry Street, across this proposed gas station. And I don't have all the qualifications like some of the people here that presented this evening. But I am a mother of two special needs, just trying to do the best that I can for my family and just take one day at a time. I want to make 2 points here.
overwhelming disappointed sitting through those meetings through this many times and hearing the outcome and hearing the people that wants to do the gas station wanted to, after appeal after every decision. And 2 points that I remember very well from the city planning commission. Because we asked this question, we asked each one, would you like to have a gas station behind your home? Guess what? At the end, they flatly admitted, no, we would not like to live next to a gas station. Pretty much they said, it sucks to be you. And after that, the frustration just keeps growing and growing, just to knowing that, okay, who is gonna have our backs? And so that was one of the points that I remember. And the other point is they even called to the podium to an officer, a police officer, and they asked them, about the extended hours, about if the majority of the crime happens to those hours, and then he flatly admitted it, that yes, they happen. So it's very hard to hear one thing and then, when they already, ask question to another officer that lives here in the city of Murrieta, that works for the city of Murrieta. And, I just, it's very disappointing to be through this process and knowing that, whatever that happens tonight, they are going to continue appealing for what they want. We're just small citizens here that we just want somebody to also look on our behalf. But thank you so much for your patience tonight. And as you know, I stay 100% opposed to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lourdes.
That concludes public comments on opposition, and there are no public comments on neutral, with any neutral comments. So if you'd like to call up Ms. Black for
Yes, for rebuttal, please.
Thank you. Thank you once again, Kelly Black, for the applicant. I've heard everything tonight, and I think the most eloquent response would come from not only your police chief, but our security consultant. Suffice it to say, we did look at the numbers, and we did talk to your police chief, as did Chief Bejarano, and so I will turn it over to him for the other response.
Well, once again, I'll be brief. Again, I provided the research I conducted over between November 1st of 2022 through March 31st of 2023. And those are the statistics regarding 8 convenience store gas stations combination. All 8 of them are in close proximity to the 15 or the 215. And once again, the majority of the crime, at least 80%, was occurring between 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. Of course, we all know that crime does occur overnight. Robberies do occur at convenience stores, etc. But the data shows that that simply is not happening here. And I commend the city, the chief, for having one of the safest cities. That has been my experience as the chief in the city of Chula Vista, a medium-sized city. A large city like San Diego, did we have robberies? Yes, but not a significant crime trend. And again, most of the calls for service, my experience has been, might be different here at Murrieta. Most calls for service involve shoplifting, other lower level crimes during the daytime at most of the convenience stores and gas stations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. All right. Now we'll move to council deliberation. Councilmember Warren?
I have a question for our city attorney. We are here strictly to evaluate the hours, not a wall, correct?
The hours are what has been appealed.
That is what has been appealed, not the fact that they came up with a different idea and a wall might make it a little bit better. And we're not considering that, or can we?
I mean, that's a really interesting question.
Of course.
Yeah, I think as Councilmember Holliday just said, if they wanted to volunteer a wall, that could be added.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if the ninja wall would be appropriate, but
Just in response, there is currently a 6 to 8 foot wall that was constructed. It is solid block. We are proposing to landscape in front of it. We also are proposing security lighting directed away from the homes towards the street and cameras. We are happy to discuss other measures.
thank you. Thank you for being open to that as well. Councilmember Holliday? Okay, well, you're only allowed, 500,000 or 20 questions.
Only
Leave some
20.
for everyone else.
Chief, if you could come down. So I gather from the comments that you've reviewed the security program that they're putting in place.
I have. Do you have a specific question, or do you want me to?
I would like your opinion of that security program.
So we're looking at two different types of statistics, right? We're looking at crimemapping.com. That's a tool that we provide to the public. Mr. Bejarano is correct. It's actually covers a block. So the 27,000 block of Clinton Keith, as opposed to the AMPM. So the AMPM was what I'm more concerned about because it's the most like business, closest to the area proposed to have the 24-hour store. The 27,000 block of Clinton Keith encompasses everything: the Super Target, the Tractor Supply, the vape shop, the Starbucks. There's probably 8 to 10 businesses. So the numbers that have been brought up here tonight, it covers that wide swath of area. What I looked at today was specific to AMPM. So crimemapping.com also only goes back 6 months, and it only pulls case numbers. I'm concerned with case numbers, which is a full-blown investigation, and calls for service. So I went back 1 year, June of 22 to June of 23, for the AMPM only. And at that location, that's 27,698 Clinton Keith. We have 27 calls there over the course of a year. Of that, 13 of those calls are probably what you'd be concerned with. Many of those calls were follow-ups by my detectives. They might be just random traffic stops where they used AMPM as the address. So that doesn't really apply. So I focused mostly on the 13 calls. Those 13 calls, out of those, 6 of them occurred at night, right? So when you drill down on those night calls, you have a suspicious incident, a DUI, a 415, or like a disturbance where somebody was yelling, a trespass where a customer refused to leave, another alarm occurred in the middle of the night. These all happened between like midnight and 4 in the morning. So there were no robberies that occurred at night. Over the course of the last year, we had a robbery that occurred November of 22. That happened about 7 in the evening, and that was a gentleman came into the store, said that he had a weapon. He never showed a weapon, and he took property. So we took a robbery report on that. The other call that occurred that was an actual case occurred in July of 22, and that was a petty theft or a larceny. That also occurred during the day. I think it was around 4 p.m. So I guess the picture I'm painting for you, and I do want to add a caveat to this, I heard what the residents said. That definitely touches me, and I want them to know there's nothing more important to me and my officers than their safety and preventing crime. However, I just have to go with the statistics here. Sergeant Therian came up in front of Planning Commission, and he was asked a simple question. Do you focus on these types of locations in the middle of the night? As a patrol officer, yes, you do. He didn't have any statistical analysis or data in front of him. So he made the correct, I would have said the same thing. We do focus on businesses that are open during the night. That's a good thing for our residents because we're looking for crime occurring. It doesn't necessarily mean crime is occurring. It's close to a freeway. It's another concern for any officer because that's where people are going to flee if they're in a vehicle, and perhaps if they're on foot, they can flee anywhere, including in that neighborhood. So that's very important to us. We want to be at that business. So that's why
Sergeant Therian likely rendered that opinion. But the reality for you is, my opinion is, we go to about 60,000 calls a year. We went to 27 at the AM/PM over the last year, which is the most like business, and about half of those really applied, and the ones at night didn't really have anything to do with robbery or theft, so.
And are you familiar with the security system that AM/PM has?
I'm not intimately familiar with it, but I've talked to retired Chief Bejarano. I understand crime prevention through design. He talked to me about his security plan. If they're open to it, of course, we talked about the wall a little bit. I would also recommend a flock camera. It's not very expensive, and if the applicant was willing to put that in, I think that'd be a great deterrent.
I like that.
That's a license plate reader.
Yeah, just so the audience knows, flock camera reads license plates. If it's a stolen car, if it's somebody that's wanted on a warrant that's tied to that car, what's the time frame from the time you get the notification from when the camera saw it?
No, if it's a wanted vehicle, it's immediate. It goes into the comm center within seconds, and then it's broadcasted.
But
it captures information for us too, so we follow up. That's really the hidden part of that, is we follow up on the vehicles that came in and out. 90-something% of all of our crimes involve a vehicle. So it captures all those plates in and out of that business, and when we follow up, we can find out who was registered to that plate and follow up accordingly, so.
Very good, very good. The comment that was made about criminals fleeing and climbing the wall, in your experience, is that something that they do typically?
Yes.
So that's a realistic concern for those residents?
Yeah, they run, and they run to places that they can hide, so.
And they climb the wall and hide in the backyard or break
Sure.
into a house?
Yep, that's a reality, yes.
Okay. Did any of my fellow colleagues want to ask the chief a question while I have him here?
I'm good. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks, chief.
Thank you so much, Chief Conrad.
Staff. Somebody mentioned that there are no other projects in Murrieta that have this particular logistics of the proximity of the convenience store and gas station to the homes. Is that an accurate statement?
Councilmember Holliday, we do have one similar project that was approved by the Planning Commission. It's called the Beyond Food Mart. It's actually 80 feet from the adjacent property owners. Those folks came out to the Planning Commission. Their comments were taken into consideration. That was approved. It's not yet built, but we do have similar distances in our city.
Okay, thank you. Can you talk about the noise concern?
Sure. So when the car wash was proposed, we did a noise analysis. The applicant submitted information that kind of gave us an understanding of the noise impact levels. At the property line of the neighbors, it was about 55 dBA, which means we would put in more mitigation for the blowers and the fans. Without the car wash now, the noise would be generally just retail type of environment, which doesn't require a noise analysis on its own. But we did look at the noise when the car wash was being proposed.
So I know someone mentioned something about fast food ordering. They can hear it across the street. Obviously, there's no fast food ordering here. What other type of noise would it be? Just cars driving up to get gas? Maybe a door alarm going off when people enter or exit the building?
Yeah, some of those smaller noises, like people getting out of a vehicle, the door
Slamming
closing.
the door.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think.
Okay. Someone also questioned the accuracy of the studies.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair comment, but the folks that write these studies are third party. Although the applicant hires them and pays for them, we as staff analyze them. I do want to point out for the air quality analysis, that was a very significant concern for the neighbors. So we actually had a peer review. We paid another company to peer review that air quality analysis just to be sure, and we found that that was consistent with state law.
Okay. Madam Mayor, can I ask some questions of the applicant?
Certainly.
Okay.
You may ask all of our questions, and we'll just
Just sit
let
there and
you
let me
keep going.
have at it?
Yeah.
We will stay up here, both of us.
Yeah.
I think the chief said, was talking about what you had experienced in the other stores. But I don't think you alluded to what other crime you've experienced in other stores. You were talking about law violations, correct?
Yeah, most of the crime that I saw were shoplifting, disturbances, again, low-level calls for service, not violent crime.
And what time of day typically?
Again, the majority of the crimes that were reported were between, I don't have the specific hour, but it covered the time period from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m.
That was when the majority of the crimes you experienced at your other stores in Riverside County.
No, I'm sorry, I wasn't speaking about Riverside County.
Where are the other stores located?
I'm sorry, San Diego County.
San Diego County, okay, thank you. And you're putting the lights that face away from the residents for security. How are those being mounted to the wall? Where are those being mounted? Because you're gonna have trees there too, right?
Correct. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to be mounted, but we'll find a place to ensure they are mounted. As we all know with crime prevention, as well lit as a location can be a site, that's not going to be a deterrent to crime, but we're also very sensitive, obviously, to the residents nearby. So they're going to be positioned and mounted in any place. Again, the light is directly in the back, the rear of the store, that isolated area that, again, will have security fencing, state-of-the-art security system or surveillance system also.
And none of that light's gonna reflect back to the residents?
No, it should not. It will not.
Okay. And then, do you have a guesstimate of what the removal of the car wash and the propane fueling station did to the project?
I believe the applicant might have that information. I do not, I'm sorry.
Okay. Approximately.
Suffice it to say, it was substantial. We can get you exact numbers.
I don't need exact numbers, ballpark. Please come up to the podium. This is being recorded.
Got it. Thank you, guys. Chris Salem. Pleasure. We removed the DEF tank and one dispenser as part of it as well. That was a 5,000-gallon tank. We also removed the propane sales in bulk. We also removed the car wash. Between the three profit centers, I would approximate $15,000 per month in profit.
And do you have an estimate of what the cost is for the reduced hours?
The cost that would do to us?
Yes.
Hard to put a number on it. It is substantial. I've never seen a gas station anywhere.
In your other stores, do you know what that kind of revenue is between those hours that you would be closed here?
I do not.
Okay, thank you.
I do know from a standpoint of safety, it's not a good thing to have a property this caliber just being left empty, not supervised.
Understood. Understood. Would you be open to the idea of a higher wall and a flock camera?
A flock camera, 100%. A higher wall, I'm open to the idea. Not sure where it would be positioned. There's already a wall existing. So are we putting a wall next to another wall?
I know, well, it would have to probably be on top of the existing wall, which creates some engineering challenges, and also who owns that wall, and you have to get permission from every neighbor if it's on their property, and yeah, I know. I'm aware of the challenges there. I was just curious if you were open to it.
We are open to it.
Okay. That is all my questions at the moment.
Thank you, Councilmember Holliday, for being very efficient in your questions. Councilmember Warren.
I have one question for the applicant as well. If you were to be granted the over 24-hour, period of operation, how many employees would you have in those overnight hours working at any given time?
2.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. I have a few questions since you're up here as well. As I became very intimate with this, to use Chief Conrad's words, I was the one that appealed this project originally. So, and I want to thank you for your concessions, removing and changing the entire floor plan of this, the whole entire footprint of this project. So I appreciate that greatly. And something was said about a 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. locking cabinet.
So Murrieta does not allow I think it was reference to the alcohol. So Murrieta does not allow alcohol sales after midnight, so it wouldn't apply here. That was more of a reference to San Diego. But the hours of operation, if there were to be alcohol, we would have mechanisms of hours of operation where the doors do automatically lock. So
Okay.
the consumer nor the employee have access to the front of the doors.
To the alcohol?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. I
sure.
had never seen that before. And I would concur with my fellow colleagues as well. I definitely would appreciate a flock camera. I know, especially being in that area, I think we've approved those throughout our whole entire city, and they are working very well to stop crime. And I appreciate that your goal as well is to reduce and prevent crime. We would like to remain the safest city, one of the safest cities. And I know my colleagues agree and concur with me there. So thank you for all of the data. Thank you for your time. And I appreciate all of the comments made by the residents as well. I hear you and I understand, so thank you.
Thank you.
We could go to comments. No comments, no questions. Mayor Pro Tem Stone.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. To the residents, I want to let you know that I do hear you. And there's a balance that we have to make up here with regards to the quality of life for the residents of Murrieta, and then also the business climate as well. It was stated that this property was zoned way before the development was built. It's been zoned for that for many, many years. The climate today for businesses is absolutely horrendous. The mandates that come down from the state of California. It's very, very difficult to open up a business in today's California climate. And the fact that the applicant made the concessions and the footprint to accommodate some of your concerns, I really commend the applicant for doing that. It shows that you have a vested interest in the quality of life that we have here in Murrieta. So I want to thank you for those concessions. With that said, we want to remain one of the safest cities in the nation. I love the fact that you've gone to such extremes in having the security system that you have. I want the residents to know that I live off of Los Alamos in Whitewood, and there's a huge Shell station, bright lights. The entire subdivision can see these lights. There are no security measures. There are no cameras there whatsoever. Knowing that the applicant has gone to the extremes that they have for security, the quality of the product, I would be proud to have them next to me than the Shell station that I have. We are going to ask you to definitely put a flock camera in. That's very, very important. But I also have to advocate on behalf of the residents with regards to the homes that are directly affected by the gas station. Whether it's extending the wall or it is putting some sort of barrier there to protect those residents, I think that that is very, very important. And so tonight I want to know, are you willing to do something to protect the backyards of those homes? Okay. And you're going to give a reassurance to these residents here tonight that you're going to do something to protect those backyards. In case of a perpetrator climbing over a fence, they have to have a sense of security, and I feel for the residents as well.
We will do our very best. We'll work with, whether it's you guys or staff, to implement the best practice possible. to
I need
reassure
more, I
everybody.
need more reassurance than, that's very vague.
To me, I go on the record, whatever you guys need us to do, we'll do.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
whatever, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I want to know.
I just don't know the solution offhand.
And that's fine. And also, I think it'd be very important while you work with staff that you do work with the residents, because their safety, their concern is a priority for me, as well as I am very pro-business. So I want to thank you so much for all the concessions that you've made on behalf of the residents. And in regards to the residents, as I told you, that, you know, this area was zoned. It is zoned for commercial. They're losing right now approximately $15,000 a month of income, and it could even be more than that. And so they've really made lots of concessions, and here's the last one. They've given you a commitment that they're going to work with staff and they will work with the residents and make sure that your backyards are secure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes my comments, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Warren, do you have?
I want to concur with Councilwoman Stone. These residents' concerns are my concerns. I am very pro-business, but I have to look after our residents, maintaining a quality of life. And so I'm going to hold you to your word. And residents, I want you to work with him in kind. And you need to work together to find a solution so everybody can live in peace and harmony. Thank you. That concludes my comments.
Thank you so much, Council. Before we go into before I close the public hearing, could I ask the city clerk, thank you, is there any correspondence for the record?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My office did receive one correspondence in opposition, which has been provided to the council, is available for public review, and will be made as part of the record.
All right, thank you. And seeing that I have one more comment from Council Member Holliday.
Yeah, I would also like to echo Councilwoman Stone's comments about the concessions that you guys made. I know that doesn't 100% appease the residents, but it's rare to see members of the community when they come in to do a development and they say, residents say we don't like it, and 9 times out of 10 they like, sorry, we're allowed to do it, and they go forward. And a lot of times we don't have the ability to say, well, you can't do that. They have private property rights, and they have a right to develop that property based on what it's zoned, just like Track Builder had a right to build the homes that you guys live in. And it's probably one of the more challenging things that we have to do as a council is to balance both of the rights of the individuals that are here tonight. So I recognize that you didn't have to make those concessions. And I recognize that you did that to address some of their concerns. In thinking about the wall, because I've done some develop myself as well, there's probably some sort of metal structure, we'd have to make it look nice and not look like a prison, that you could put attached to the wall at the top that would not allow someone to climb over the top of it. I would think that probably be the easiest solution, and you could get with staff and look at what those looks like, you know, what that would look like, and a design that would not look atrocious as well. And it wouldn't cost you a fortune either, like building a whole new wall. So we have you on record, willing to work with that. We have you on record for doing the flock camera, correct? 100%, okay. All right, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I appreciate all my council. I appreciate everyone that's here tonight. This is a very tough decision that we're going to make here tonight, and we don't always make people happy, but hopefully that we can make the quality of life better for an existing property that was there before the homes were built. So with that said, I'd like to ask for a motion and a second. And
I just need a minute, Madam Mayor.
no problem.
Madam Mayor, it's actually in option.
All right.
And so if, well, there's an option. It's one reso or a second resolution. And so
the first resolution is with no hours, no,
Well,
limitation on,
it's adopting one or the other. And so I just need to know, could I get a verbal motion in a second with the resolution number that's in front of you? Yep, okay.
Number 2 on the screen is
Yep.
to deny the appeal and keep the hours of operation restricted. Number 3 on your screen is to approve the appeal and allow the 24-hour operation.
Correct. So we're looking at 234693, the number 2, is that correct? No?
234689 is to deny the appeal and keep the hours of operation the same. Resolution 234693 is to approve the appeal and allow it to have 24-hour operation.
and that's the,
Which one are you moving?
the second one. I can't get it to my, I can't,
I'm going to go ahead and push the vote.
there we go.
And so if I could just get the motion on the floor, whoever is calling the motion, please to add the resolution number.
All right. Councilmember Holliday, are you approving the convenience store open, fueling pumps operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And that would be,
My resolution disappeared.
so just move 2023-0001.
May I step in?
Please.
Okay. So who is going to make the motion?
I thought you were, Madam Mayor.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, may I ask you as the motion to adopt resolution 234693, which is a resolution of the City Council approving the appeal and granting substantial conformance 2023-0001 relating to the proposal to construct and operate a 5804 square foot convenience store and fuel station subject to the conditions of approval in Exhibit A, and finding that the project is exempt from CEQA.
Yes, I so move.
And can I seek a point of clarification?
Yes.
Are you also wanting to add a condition of approval that the applicant work with the deputy director to install the flock camera and other safety features?
Yes,
Thank you.
the wall and the,
And the flock
Flock
camera.
camera.
That's
Uh-huh.
correct.
Yes.
Okay. And we have a second?
yeah, go for the second.
I'll second, but I have a question. I want to make sure I know what I'm voting on. We are voting to allow them to operate 24/7 with additional safety measures. Is that what we're voting on?
Correct.
Thank you.
Additional
I just wanted to
conditions, yes.
clarify.
Yes. And so, Councilmember Warren, if you would like to go ahead and add your second to that motion, now that it's been stated for the record, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry about that. I might have complicated it. Motion carries unanimously, 4-0.
Thank you. Moving on to fiscal year 2023, 2024 fire suppression assessment. Staff, may we have a staff report?
Good evening, Mayor DeForest, Mayor Pro Tem Stone, and members of council. I'm here this evening to present agenda item 23, the public hearing for the fire suppression assessment fee. In 1981, the voters of Murrieta approved a unit of benefit fire suppression assessment by a 79% margin. This annual fire assessment has been approved by City Council each year since 1993, when the fire district became a subsidiary of the City of Murrieta. Prior to 1993, the independent Murrieta Fire District Board of Directors adopted the unit of benefit fee fire suppression assessment annually. All commercial and residential properties within the city are assessed based on a scale formed under the 1972 Benefit Act and used a weighted method of apportionment known as an equivalent benefit unit, an EBU. This scale uses a single-family home as the site as its basic unit of assessment to equal 1 EBU, utilizing approximately 1,000 gallons of fire hydrant water flow per parcel for fire suppression efforts. The maximum fee per unit of benefit is $40, which has remained unchanged since its inception in 1981. This $40 fee is levied regardless of the property valuation, with most all of the single-family homes paying this fixed amount. The revenues generated from the fire suppression assessment fee for 2023-2024 will be approximately $1,559,111. The exact amount will be available by the end of July when the final tax assessments are complete. Additionally, the agenda packet contains Proposition 218 compliance letter, which certifies that the City of Murrieta Fire District is compliant with the laws governing the special assessment taxes imposed upon property owners as stipulated in Proposition 218. Upon the closing of the public hearing, staff recommends that the City Council, in their role as the Board of Directors for the Murrieta Fire District, adopt resolution number MFD 23-220, entitled Resolution of the Board of Directors of the Murrieta Fire District, levying the 2023-2024 fire suppression assessment fee and standby or availability charge, and authorize the general manager to execute the associated Proposition 218 compliance letter. I'm available for any questions staff has, and we have Will Den here to answer any of the specific financial questions you might have in this matter.
Thank you so much, Chief Malloy. Do I have any questions from my council members? Nothing? All right, seeing none. You got off the hook today. Very easy, sir, so far. Let's open that public hearing. Madam City Clerk, is there any public testimony regarding this item? Fantastic. I'm going to close that public hearing. City Council, any discussion from my colleagues? Seeing none, let's call for a motion and a second. And a vote.
Motion carries unanimously, 4-0.
Thank you so much, Madam City Clerk. Moving on, adoption of the fiscal year 2023-2024 Murrieta Fire District operating budget. Staff, well, may we have a staff report?
Good evening, Mayor Forrest, council members, city staff, members of the public. The report and presentation tonight will be delivered to you by our finance manager, Jennifer Terry.
Thank you, Javier. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. Jennifer Terry, Finance Manager. Along with me tonight is Giovanni Calvopina, Financial Analyst, who prepared the report tonight. The main objective of tonight's item is to complete the administrative requirement to adopt the fiscal year 23-24 final operating budget for the Murrieta Fire District. As a reminder, the board received a detailed budget report and presentation for the citywide operating budget, which included the fire district budget, at the June 6th City Council meeting. At that time, the board approved the preliminary fiscal year 23-24 and 24-25 fire district budget. Tonight, we are holding this public hearing prior to the adoption of the final budget in accordance with California Health and Safety Codes 13893 and 13895. Tonight's presentation will be brief and concise, focusing on the significant drivers for the district's revenue and expenditures. The fire district budget for fiscal year 23-24 is approximately $24 million, which is an increase of about 7% over current year. Property tax revenues are increasing by 8%, or approximately $1 million. The special assessments are increasing by 3%, or approximately $51,000. This special assessment is the benefit assessment district that Chief Malloy just discussed. This increase is related to new home construction and not an increase in the rates. And charges for services are increasing by 29%, or approximately $112,000, which are for property and business inspections from the Fire Prevention Division. An operating transfer from Measure T is necessary to balance the budget of approximately $6,900,000
$6.97 million. This is a 10% increase or $647,000 over current year. Measure T will also be funding the increase in the district's operating reserve from 25% to 30%. This increase totals $1.6 million. For fiscal year 23-24, the operating reserve for the fire district will be $7,214,589. Primary increases in expenditures are related to personnel costs from workers' compensation and overtime, and internal service fees for risk management due to higher property and general liability costs. The recommended action tonight is to adopt the proposed resolution MFD 23-219 to approve the fiscal year 23-24 final operating budget for the Murrieta Fire District. This concludes the presentation, and we are available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, staff. Any council member questions? Seeing none, let's open the public hearing. Madam City Clerk, is there any public testimony regarding this item?
Seeing none.
Public hearing is closed. Council member, any discussions? All right, can I call for a motion and a second? All right, and a vote.
Motion carries unanimously, 4-0.
Thank you so very much. Moving on to levy of annual assessments, Murrieta Community Service Districts. Starting off, are there any members of the City Council that wish to abstain or recuse themselves from this item? Councilwoman Warren.
I will be recusing myself from Zone N only as I own property within the zone.
Councilmember Stone.
I will be recusing myself from Zone A.
Councilmember Holliday.
I will be recusing myself from Zone M and G only as I own property within those zones.
All right, and I will be recusing myself from Zone G as I own property within the zone. Do you have all that, Madam City Clerk?
I do. I just want to confirm with Mayor Pro Tem Stone that it is because she owns property within the zone. The reason why you're recusing?
Number 25, Zone A. Thank you.
Zone A, as you own property within the zone, is that
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, now that we're clear on that. All right, let's move on to staff presentation while you guys are already there. They're back. Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. My name is Crystal Aurora with the Community Services Department, and I'll be giving the overview for tonight's Community Services District's assessments. So this public hearing item relates to the annual levy assessments for the Community Services District. The Community Services District assessments help cover the costs associated with flood and drainage services, street sweeping in most benefit areas, local park and landscape maintenance, as well as street lighting. They benefit general areas and lettered zones. These assessments are reviewed annually in accordance with the provisions detailed in Proposition 218, passed by California voters in 1996. For the CSD, these assessments have not increased since their establishment in 1997. Depending on the zone, the annual assessments range from $45.44 to $751.16. The intent meeting for the assessments of the Community Services District took place on May 2nd, and the 45-day public hearing notices were issued accordingly. Upon closing the public hearing, it is staff's recommendation for the CSD Board of Directors to approve the levy report and order the levy and collection for the rates and charges for next fiscal year's district. That concludes the overview of this item. We're available should you have any questions, as well as representative from Wildan Financial.
Thank you so much. Do I have any council member questions? Mayor Pro Tem Stone.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, can you clarify that again? Are you saying that there are no increases, or are there increases?
For CSD assessments, there are no increases.
Thank you very much.
All right, any other questions? All right. This is the time and place for the public hearing on the levy of the annual assessments and community service district. I now open the public hearing. Has the city clerk received any written protests filed against the levy of annual assessments of community service district? Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the City Council on this matter or hand any protests or correspondence?
Seeing none.
If there is anyone in the audience, if so, you could please come to the podium. There is no one.
Seeing none.
Seeing none.
I apologize.
All right. Does any member of the City Council have any comments or questions? Nothing. So I'm going to close that public hearing. All right, now I call for a motion and a second.
Motion carries unanimously 4-0.
Fantastic, thank you so much. We're moving on to the levy of the annual assessments, consolidated landscaping and lighting districts. Are there any members of the City Council that wishes to abstain or recuse themselves from this item? Yes. All right, Councilmember Warren.
Thank you, Mayor. I will be recusing myself from LLD 16 only as I own property within the district.
Councilmember Holliday.
I will be recusing myself from LLD 11 only as I own property within that district.
Fantastic. Seeing none, we'll move on once again, to staff presentation.
Long time no see.
Yes, welcome back.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council once again. This public hearing item relates to the annual levy assessments for the Consolidated Landscape and Lighting District, hereto referred to as the LLD. I first wanted to point out a correction on the agenda reports. So on page 2 of the agenda report, it states that there are increases ranging from $2.56 to $143.66. Upon review, the totals should show increases ranging from 2 cents to $187. Noting those changes, I'll go ahead and get started. For the LLD, these assessments help cover costs associated with park, landscape maintenance, and street lighting in more localized areas that benefit numbered districts that were formed after the passage of Proposition 218 in 1996. These assessments are reviewed annually. Zones may see decreases, increases, or no changes. This year, 17 of the 39 active zones and subzones have increases ranging from 2 cents to $187. The intent meeting for the consolidated LLD assessments took place on May 2nd, and the 45-day public hearing notices were issued accordingly. Upon closing the public hearing, it is staff's recommendation for the City Council to confirm and provide for the annual levy of the assessments in the consolidated LLD. That concludes the overview of this item. We're available should you have any questions.
Thank you so much. Do I have any council member questions? All right, seeing no question. Councilmember Holliday.
What attributed to the increases?
So the increases are due mostly for cost rises in utilities, contractor services, consultant services, graffiti repair, vandalism repair, graffiti, tree removal, due to cost increases for those items, those services.
And if we didn't approve the new levies, what would happen?
If we did not approve it, the levy, we try and balance the budget for each landscape and lighting district. We would have to go into the reserves if our revenues did not, if our expenditures surpassed our revenues.
Does each landscape and lighting district have its own reserves?
They do. However, 3 landscape lighting districts have formed in such a way that the general fund now needs to support them. And 2 of those were from the annexation of the Murrieta Hot Springs Margarita area, and those were formed by the county. So those had not been formed with enough of a consumer price index inflator to keep up with the increases in the various services for those landscape lighting districts.
And do these increases fix that?
No, not in those particular landscape lighting districts.
So
The
those
li-
will always be in a negative,
Those will continue to be
subsidized.
dependent upon the general fund to help subsidize those. But the increases in the 17 will help equalize the budget, match the expenditures and the revenues.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Council, Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. Leah, with regards to item number 25, that's the one that has increased the most, which
The
is
most.
$187. And my understanding is that you've accepted more units within that lighting district. And then also, I think that there's some other improvements. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Sure. Landscape Lighting District 25 is Alderwood development, and that development, the common areas in that area, so the slope, the streetscapes, the two parks in there were accepted in phases. And so as the city approved each of the various common areas, the equivalent benefit units, the single-family homes in that area had an increase in their assessments due to an increase in common area maintenance. And in addition to that, in addition to those increases, there was, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
I apologize.
It's okay.
But the increases in the common area necessitated the increase in the assessments.
Okay, great. My little spiel 2 hours ago was with regards to the lighting district. So I just wanted to make that clarification, and I apologize. And I want to thank you, Leah, also for accommodating me and answering all my questions. Thank you so much.
No worries. Michelle Lasse is here from Wildan, and she wanted me to make a point that if the assessments aren't approved, there is no levy at all. And so that means there is no funding to support that particular landscape and lighting district at all.
So you're saying that if it doesn't pass, it goes away completely?
That for this year.
For this year?
Yeah. Because you wouldn't get it on the tax roll in time for this year.
Okay,
And
thank
it
you.
would come back next year.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Warren, did you have a question?
So if that were to happen, so would the services go away too, correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay, I want to make that
Not
clear.
have the funding to support the services
Correct.
necessary to maintain the common areas.
And the parks and everything that's within that lighting district, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
So Leah, welcome back. It's nice to see you at our
Hi.
meeting.
Thank
So,
you.
And just to clarify, these are fees for service.
These are fees for services. So landscape maintenance, tree trimming, Wildan services, graffiti removal, tree trimming, water, electricity.
And this is just the mechanism that we use for collecting these fees for service. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
This is the mechanism, just as the fire district had to have the public hearing for their assessments, the community services district has to have the public hearing for those assessments, and the consolidated landscape lighting district has to have a public hearing for those assessments as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much for clarifying that. And any other comments? All right. So moving on, this is the time and place for the public hearing on the levy of annual assessments, consolidated lighting and landscape and lighting district. I now open the public hearing. Has the city clerk received any written protests filed against the levy of annual assessments, consolidated landscape and lighting district?
I have not.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the City Council on this matter at hand? Or hand any protests in or any correspondence?
Thank you for that. Seeing none.
All right. Does any member of the City Council have any comments or questions? Seeing none, I now close the public hearing.
Called for a motion and a second, Madam Mayor? Okay.
It's
there,
All right.
But,
Yeah.
City Clerk, did you have a correction on the abstention?
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. After review of the districts, I do want to make a correction to the recusals that were done for this item. Councilmember Warren you will be recusing yourself from LLD 11, and Councilmember Holliday will be LLD 16. My apologies.
Little dyslexia going on there. Yeah. Thank you so much for that clarification, Madam City Clerk.
Motion carries 3-1 with Mayor Pro Tem Stone dissenting.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 27. Note, items number 27 through 30 will be done together, but with separate motions for each will be taken. So we're going to approve the tentative agreement for successor memorandum understanding between the City of Murrieta and the Murrieta Firefighters Association. Staff, may we have a staff report?
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor and council members. And as Mayor mentioned, I am doing one presentation this evening that covers items 27, 28, 29, and 30. Most employees of the City of Murrieta are represented by an employee organization and governed by a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, regarding compensation and benefits. Through the process of collective bargaining, the city periodically negotiates with the respective employee organizations for the purpose of establishing wages, hours, and working conditions for their represented employees. The current memorandums of understanding between the city and the Murrieta Police Officers Association, the Murrieta Police Management Association, the Murrieta Firefighters Association, and the Murrieta Fire Management Association are set to expire June 30th, 2023. The city and the four associations started labor negotiations for a successor MOU back in March. The parties met and conferred in good faith on the dates listed on the screen. During this time, the parties exchanged information and proposals. This is what we call the fun time of the negotiations. An agreed upon compensation survey of comparable agencies was used as a guide for determining market, salary, and benefits adjustments needed to keep the city competitive in its labor market. The city and each of the four associations have reached a tentative agreement on a fair and equitable package of total compensation for a successor MOU, and the members of each association voted to ratify the tentative agreement, and the labor representatives of the city and the four associations have signed the tentative agreement. The tentative agreement for a successor MOU with each association is for a 3-year term, covering the period July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2026. The primary economic deal term for each group is a base salary adjustment. The tentative agreement with the Police Officers Association includes a 4% cost of living adjustment and an additional 5.5% market equity adjustment in year 1 of the contract. The tentative agreements with the Police Management Association, the Firefighters Association, and the Fire Management Association includes a 4% cost of living adjustment and an additional 5% market equity adjustment in year 1 of the contract. And as you can see, the tentative agreement with each association also includes a 4% cost of living adjustment in year 2 of the contract and a 4% cost of living adjustment in year 3. The city can reopen the MOU to discuss modifications to the COLA if revenues fall by more than 5% below the preceding year's budget. The tentative agreement with each association also includes a new longevity incentive that provides a 2% salary adjustment after 15 years of service to Murrieta and a 3% salary adjustment after 20 years of service. A copy of the tentative agreement, which includes all the deal points for each group, is included as an exhibit to each proposed resolution. Staff has prepared a resolution for each association for council's consideration this evening. Adoption of each resolution would approve the tentative agreement for a successor MOU with that association for the period July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2026. If approved, the labor representatives of the city and each association will jointly prepare a written memorandum of understanding to present to City Council at a later date for consideration and adoption. That concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions on my council members? Seeing no questions. Thank you so much for your time and dedication, Diego, to making this come to fruition today, and we greatly appreciate you and all your efforts and your entire team. So thank you as well to Javier.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And I'll just briefly add that I do want to thank the members of each labor association for all their hard work and efforts throughout this process. Certainly the city council, the city manager, the assistant city managers, and there's an entire team kind of behind the scenes throughout this entire process, including, as you mentioned, the finance staff, city clerk's office, HR team. We had subject matter experts that helped us along the way, and so thank you very much to each of those individuals.
Yeah, wonderful collective agreement for everyone, and it's nice to get this done on a very positive note. So thank you for your relationship with everyone. All right, Madam City Clerk, are there any public comments regarding this item? Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'd like to call for a motion and a second.
This is for item 27.
Item 27.
Yes. Motion carries unanimously, 4-0.
All right. Item number 28, approving a tentative agreement between successor memorandum understanding between the City of Murrieta and Murrieta Fire Management Association. Call for a motion and a second. You guys are faster than a speeding bullet this evening. I can't even read it before you're doing it.
Motion carries unanimously, 4-0.
Yeah. 29, approving a tentative agreement for the successor memorandum of the understanding between the City of Murrieta and the Murrieta Police Officers Association. Oh, I got one. Oh.
Motion carries unanimously, 4-0.
Thank you. Item number 30, approving a tentative agreement for the successor memorandum of the understanding between the City of Murrieta and the Murrieta Police Management Association. Call for a second and a motion. I got two. Look at me go. Thank you.
Motion carries unanimously, 4-0.
Thank you. And moving on to 31, amendment to the comprehensive salary schedule FY 2023-2024. Staff?
Thank you, Mayor. Each
Again?
fiscal year, the City Council adopts a new comprehensive salary schedule, which is a published document on the city's website that includes a list of the city's employment classifications and their corresponding compensation ranges. The California Public Employees Retirement System, CalPERS, limits compensation for retirement purpose to the amounts listed on a publicly available pay schedule, meeting requirements set forth in the California Code of Regulations, including that the pay schedule be duly approved and adopted by the employer's governing body. Staff has prepared a resolution for council's consideration to establish Murrieta's salary schedule for fiscal year 2023-24, which includes changes for new classifications authorized during the budget adoption process, market adjustments, the creation of career ladders to provide advancement opportunities, adjustments to address salary compaction and internal pay inequities, and changes triggered by approved tentative agreements with labor associations. If adopted, the fiscal year 2023-24 salary schedule will establish the salary ranges for all city positions effective July 2nd, 2023. That concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. I just have a question on this. This is a range, a salary range, right? That's all this is a range.
Yes, except for the COLAs that you just approved tonight
Right.
and COLAs that you may have approved in prior years. If that employee's at the top of the range, then they'll move along with that range adjustment. So,
Okay. So it'll be also changes in the employees within that range as well.
yes.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that. Any other questions? All right, seeing none. Madam City Clerk, is there any public comments regarding this discussion item?
Seeing none.
Any discussion, my colleagues? Seeing none. We have a call for a motion in a second. Look at me, I've got like a lot of them today.
Motion carries unanimously 4-0.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, staff, for that report. Moving on to governing body announcements. Madam City Clerk.
This is the opportunity for city council members to provide miscellaneous reports and announcements. Announcements shall not exceed 2 minutes. Councilmember Warren?
Thank you so very much. My slides will come up. I had the opportunity to attend the Murrieta Wildomar Chamber Networking Breakfast, representing the city, giving the minute, and very proud to have a picture with my colleague and wonderful staff members. Next slide. El Patron, I don't know how many times you guys have been there, but I've been there 4 times, and they've only been open less than 5 days. Is that about right? Yeah, okay, so I'm a regular. So I think we're gonna have a name on a seat that says Cindy, yeah, just that. Attended the lateral firefighters, Murrieta Fire and Rescue Lateral Academy graduation, so awesome. And that belt you got, Chief, was amazing. I love that belt, so that was pretty cool. I really want to focus on the state of the city. Patrick, Kim, staff, council, and our mayor. What a great, great, great night. Everybody put in 2,000%, and we got 5,000% back. It was a blast. It was wonderful, and I thank you all so very, very much. The pictures were great. We have a lot of them here, but I want to focus on this last one. And roll them. I just had to do that. You can always reach me. Everybody has my number. So it's been a great couple of weeks, and I look forward to seeing everybody back in August.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Holliday.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to tag on the state of the city, my favorite video has Scott Agajanian and Javier Carcamo. And my favorite thing about it is, I assume it was Scott's idea for them to rip off their jackets. Am I correct? No, it was Javier's? Well, what I noticed that I'm sure Scott knows, but Javier does not, is that when you ripped off your jacket, you smacked him in the face. It was awesome. I've got that one downloaded and saved. It'll be on social media soon. So, let's see. I spoke with our Senator Kelly Ciardo's Capital Director to discuss a couple issues, and one of them that I mentioned to the chief is they actually think they'll be able to move that forward. Their budget bill cycle starts in 2 weeks, and it won't actually get voted on till the beginning of next year. But they love the idea that if we have firefighter paramedics on site and an ambulance is not there when you're ready to transport, that we have the ability to transport. It's a little crack in a terrible set of laws, but it would create a huge incentive for ambulance companies to perform their job. And it would be a great service to our residents. So I wanted to let you know that they're moving that forward, also with a very boring one about RENA. So we can ignore that one. Went to the 52nd Annual Murrieta Father's Day Car Show, which, if you don't know, that was brought to Murrieta from Temecula back in the 90s and was put on by the Murrieta Valley Foundation, which no longer exists. And when that entity was winding down, we met with then Assistant City Manager Jim Holston, said, city needs to take this over and make it a signature event because it's been here for years and we don't want to see it go away. And the city has taken it over and does a great job with it every year. Thank you, Brian and Laura. She's not here, but good job with that. Went to the Menifee Police Department's award ceremony this morning. I missed you, Chief. I know you had other things to do, but I think 4 of our dispatchers got a certificate today. So congratulations to them for that. We do our award ceremony a lot better, if you ask me, because they were 2 hours and going when I left. Yes. And the last thing is on July 28th, when I was running for my campaign, a lot of residents in my district were saying, we don't have any events in District 2. And so I requested that, and Brian has, sorry, turn that off.
Wait a minute.
Brian has moved one of the movies in the park over to Mapleton Park, which will be on July 28th, and the movie is Goonies. The movie starts at dusk, and since we're dark in July, I couldn't mention it after today, so there you go. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem Stone.
I'm going to defer my governing body announcements because I figured we were going to be here till like 10 o'clock tonight. But I want to invite my fellow colleagues on Thursday at 10 a.m. at the Colony, where I have partnered with Supervisor Washington to do an emergency preparedness event for the residents of the Colony. And I also want to give a shout out to Patrick and to Kim and to all the staff. Even this morning, when I was at the award ceremony in Menifee, they were still talking about our state of the city. It really, truly is the buzz of this valley. So you'll see people starting to copy Murrieta on some of the good things, and our mayor just did such an amazing job. I loved the energy in the room. I loved seeing all the departments in the accessibility that the residents had to talk to people, the creativity around the event, having the different restaurants participate. And again, the energy in the room was like nothing that I have seen in a really long time. And I'm just so proud to represent the city of Murrieta. And I'm so proud to have a partner in Patrick with your staff is absolutely amazing. You all really are absolutely amazing. And that gives kudos to our city manager in selecting all of you that are sitting in the audience and beyond. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem Stone. It was a lot of fun. So moving on to my governing board announcements. You can read all the events that I went to, but if you move on to the pictures, I think first and foremost, I would just like to thank the entire staff of the city of Murrieta for the most amazing state of the city ever. It was so fun, and thank you to the clerk's office for those fun little headshots of us and the little sayings. You guys went over and above, hit the home run. Our city manager, thank you so much, Kim, for all your hard work. Thank you, Patrick, and your staff. You got a rock star staff. Thank you, Dominique, for putting up with all of us on those video shoots. And I greatly appreciate that. And thanks to staff for loving Murrieta like we do. I mean, you could tell you guys were so cool out there talking to residents, and it was so amazing. I am so honored to be mayor of this amazing city. And you know why it's amazing? Because of all of you. So I hope I did Murrieta justice. and I hope I did all of you justice to say all those amazing things, because without you, we would be nowhere. So thank you to our staff for doing such an amazing job, and I can't say anything else. So thank you, thank you, thank you, and Murrieta is the best city ever. That's my report. You want to get a hold of me? There I am. We went to the car show. I picked the red Roadster if anybody was there. That was the mayor's choice. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of energy there too. So Murrieta is doing amazing. Thank you. All right, now I got to keep going. All right, almost done, guys. You get to go home. I'll be quiet. Council member request to add items to the future agenda. Now's the time for council members to request and add items to the future agenda. There will be no discussion or requests on a brief explanation. The request may be given. The merit of the items being requested may not be discussed or debated. Now, are there any requests from my colleagues?
I have something.
Okay.
Madam City Clerk, we had the public comment speaker that was not on agenda item that was talking about needing to get something approved before we leave.
Yes, sir.
Do we need a special meeting for that?
Well, we already have a special meeting that's been called that I'll be advertising this week. And so if it's the pleasure of the council, we can certainly add a notification so you would open it up and basically allow me to read the notification and then close it.
I don't see why we should make him wait all the way into August.
No, we have that special meeting next week. We can do it at.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. Thank you.
All right, hearing none, let's have an adjournment. And we are out at 8:25. I don't know anybody bet, but I thought it was going to be later than that.